Something else important to take into account before beginning to do transformations of the variables that are qualitative, like form a crop or the cultivation, is to standardize upper and lower cases. This also always generates inconveniences in the database when you have different structures. Some words, as we saw in the database, have a capital letter or an uppercase as the first letter, and others all of them are in lowercase, so this could generate inconveniences. One of the things that I recommend to do is to try and standardize that structure and how you're using upper and lower cases. Like for example here, this is a problem, manual with two upper cases. So in this case what I do is to use a structure in which the first letter of a text is in uppercase and the rest is in lowercase, but this can vary depending on who's doing the work. So in order to do this, we're going to use the function called mutate, but this time we're going to use an extension that's called mutate if. This allows me to filter in the database that I'm processing some variables with certain traits that I'm interested in. I can choose the rule here. In this case, the rule, it will be that I'm interested in all variables that are factor. So is dot factor. These are the variables that have text. And the modification that I'm going to perform would be with this function that's called str to title, which is from the string package that I told you that would help us to process data in text. So this will allow me to change the variables that are a factor and the first one's going to be uppercase and the rest are going to be lowercase. So let's do a summary once again in order to analyze the results. And when doing this modification, the variable has been transformed into a character. And remember that if it's a character, we cannot visualize it within the summary. So what I'm going to do now is to use the mutate function, mutate if function, in order to go back to use the format in the database. But this time, it should be a factor once again. So I'm going to tell it that I want to identify all of the characters and to update them as factors. So this has to do with the format. We can read it once again. And now we can see that those inconveniences with upper and lower cases had been solved. Most of the problems that could have been originated have been standardized by doing this. So I'm going to save it and we'll continue with the next step, which has to do with the transformations of the variables.